Hello and welcome to another edition of the Under Center podcast. I'm your host, Daramar, and I'm delighted to be joined as always by Jake Woolhead, and I am also delighted to be joined by Al McGrath for the second day in a row, covering for Fionn, who is not available today. Lads, how are we?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Still reeling over the news yesterday, but again, I'm not as bad as you two are because I know you've been crying so much over this news.
Devastated. Not too bad.
Yeah, well, we poured our hearts out on the emergency pod that we had, so you can go back and watch that if you want to find out how we feel about the Russell Wilson trade. But we are delighted to have our special guest on here with us now. It is Morgan Fox, Carolina Panthers defensive end. Morgan, how are you, sir? It's great to speak to you.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. First question I should ask you, because of course we are on an Irish podcast. Any Irish heritage there, or have you actually ever gotten the chance to come over and visit Ireland?
Not that I know of, but I haven't been able to yet. I really want to. My girlfriend's been there before and she loves it, so she wants to go back. So I was told that's the one place I have to go no matter what.
Well, if you do come over, we'll treat you to a pint of Guinness.
I'm all in.
Well, maybe not just one. We'll have
to get more than one.
We'll have to get
we'll talk about the amount when we get there.
It will start with the Guinness. We might move on to the whiskies afterwards. You know, you're in Ireland. You gotta try all that we have to offer for
now
sure.
You're speaking my language.
So I should really ask, how is the off season going for you? What would you normally do now during the off season? Is it sort of broken up, maybe bit of traveling, relaxation, then sort of into training, or do you sort of like to stay sort of not even fit, but like do you like to train all year round?
I definitely took a break this year. It's one of the first years I've taken a long break. You know, I stayed off of lifting for a while just to help my body get back to where it was, and then went to a wedding, went on a couple trips, you know, kind of got all that out of the way. And now, got back to California, got back to be able to train at Sports Academy with all my friends and everybody I've been training with for the last couple of years. So now it's time to kind of ramp things back up.
Yeah. And would you go back to Colorado at all, or would you
between a trip and a wedding in California, and I didn't want to fly all the way back to Charlotte, so I popped into Colorado for about a week, got to hang out with my dad and my little brother and my stepmom, so it was a blast.
Do you prefer the weather in Cali or in Colorado?
I actually like the cold. I'm probably a weirdo in that sense, but I definitely miss being in Colorado, the cool crisp air, being able to see the mountains every day. But sunny and 75 is hard to beat.
That is definitely it for sure. I should really ask you then, because Colorado, Denver, we saw the news there with Russell Wilson and stuff like that. And of course, you spent some time playing in the NFC West against the Seahawks as well. A blockbuster trade happened this week too, that sort of shaking the foundations of both the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah, it's a crazy trade. He's a super talented player going to a team that is very talented, and getting a chance to go into a different division and try to go win some games. He's coming from a talented team to going to another talented team. There's some great coaches. I know Coach E, at least on the defensive side. So it's going to be super interesting.
Definitely for sure. I should ask, because of the off season and the length of it, because we actually we all play here on the same football team over here in Ireland, and we have air seasons from March to July, and we have that long off season where it is a bit of training and getting ready for the next season, and we ourselves find it frustrating, and obviously on the fan side of things we find it frustrating too. Is it as frustrating as for yourself as a player, just having that long time off? Are you just waiting to get back into game time situations?
Sometimes, it's definitely nice to have it off. Just because camp and between camp to the end of the football season, especially with the added week last year, it's a long season. You live and breathe in football for 10, 12 hours a day every day, and then you get fortunate enough to go play on Sundays. So it's an absolute blast, but there's definitely a time about the end of the season that you're grateful for the season that you had, you're grateful that it's over, and that kind of little breathing window that you get between having to train. There's no true off season. You might get a month where you go do some trips and get around, but you better come back in shape. So you got to start working out as soon as you can and kind of getting back into that mode. And there's definitely sometimes, you're like, man, I wish we were going already so I can, start working on the things that I needed to improve from last year and start getting after it and just getting back to the game.
Have you got any favorite off-season activities, something you find fun, maybe not to do with football?
I wish I could still snowboard. I probably shouldn't be snowboard. After I got hurt, I kind of quit snowboarding, at least until football season's over. I always have a blast doing that. I like to go hunt, but I haven't been able to hunt since high school. Elk season is always during football season, so
yeah.
I'm kind of out of luck with that. But I kind of like just getting out of here, traveling, going for hikes, get out to California, get in the sun a little bit, and really just hang out and be around my friends. It's tough because most of my friends, live in all around the country. So if I can go see them and go see family, that's probably my favorite pastime once football's over.
Yeah, and I have to ask you this as a fellow defensive line player, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the swim move or the rip?
Oh, that's tough. It depends on what the pass rush move you throw, though. I'm a big
Right.
fan of going over the top if it's some kind of club move, and I'm a big fan of the rip if you go something coming under with a swipe or a little pull or something to get you through. I think it's just by feel. I have no personal preference.
Yeah.
How's your spin move?
Awful. I don't.
No, well, to be fair, I'm not lucky enough to be one of the taller players, so it's definitely just a rip move for me. I have to make do with just the rip, and I tried a spin move at training last week, and I think it was the slowest spin move. I'm still actually technically doing it right here a couple of days later.
I don't know. You might have me beat.
Just want to ask, bring it back there. You mentioned your injury. You actually played a couple of good years after that. Did you have to change anything there in how you trained or how you prepared after the injury, or?
Honestly, no. I was super fortunate. I had a great surgeon when I got hurt. He fixed me up perfect, especially for the kind of crazy damage I did to my leg. And then my PT and the staff that was around me, when I was with the Rams and they were rehabbing me, I mean, he was awesome. He honestly, I attribute him saving my career and getting me through it. I mean, I came back stronger, more explosive, quicker, all because of the work, that John really put in with me and got me going. So I didn't have to change much. There's a little more now, and just kind of notice it a little more, look after it, make sure I'm doing a little more legs when I train, make sure I'm squatting a little more balance and single leg stuff. But other than that, it's I think honestly probably stronger than my left leg. So I definitely I'm almost grateful that I had that experience just because of the ability, what came back from it.
How was actually? I should really ask how do you feel after your first year in Carolina?
I feel good. We definitely had a couple games that we let get away with us, and it was a tough season. But the talent we have around us, the coaching staff, we definitely have a chance to make some strides going into next season, and it's all going to be on us to kind of buckle down and really look at ourselves and find what we can improve on and get after it. And we're a team that was definitely close a lot of times. And so I love the guys. I love the city. I love the staff. So it was fun. It was a blast the first year.
And how hard is it to tackle CMC?
I mean, I don't touch him at practice. I don't get within 5 yards of him. I'm not going to be the guy that, hey, nope, not me. So I would ask someone else about it because I don't get near him.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair enough. For the most, man, like you were saying, there's a real good nucleus there on the defense, obviously with yourself and Brian Burns on the front line, and then in the back, you're looking at the likes of J.C. Horn, of course, unfortunately had his season cut short, and Jeremy Chin there, just to name a few. There's definitely the basis of a really, really good defense going there, and especially now with the NFC South. Losing Sean Payton and losing Tom Brady, there's definitely a chance next year for some team to take a stranglehold of this NFC South.
Yeah, I think it's I don't ever want to say anything's wide open. I think every year every conference is open. This business, I mean, everyone saw with the Bengals. Teams take leaps every year and can go from being in the bottom of their division to the top. So. But I definitely think, we got a shot as long as we buckle down and kind of get after it, like I said, and kind of find the things that we need to fine tune and fix and get after. And I think we definitely at least have a shot.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at the schedule then next year as well, because the Saints are due to play in the UK, and all the rumors at the moment are suggesting that it's going to be an NFC South matchup. And obviously with the Buccaneers playing in Germany and the Falcons playing in London just last year, it looks like the door is open for the Panthers to return to London. And would that be something you'd look forward to?
I love that trip. I've done it 3 times. We did it every year but one that I was with the Rams. So that I was actually, I think every year but 2 that I was with the Rams. We did it. So I love the trip. It's a blast. I love going out there, going meeting people, just being kind of around, and hopefully the world will be at a stage where we can actually go out and go around and mingle a little bit. So I love the trip. Any chance to kind of get out, go see things, explore a little bit would be awesome. I'd have just as much fun going to the UK as I would going to Germany. So I'm excited either way.
Yeah. Is the general sentiment with other players the same, or do they generally kind of not look forward to it sometimes?
Honestly, it just depends on the guys. Some guys love it. Some guys don't like it. I think a lot of it is just travel and how the team does it too. Like my rookie year, we did it. We were there for a week, and that was tough. We were in Detroit for 3 or 4 days, and we flew to London we were in Detroit for 2 days, and we were in London for a week. And, especially you kind of don't really have a ton to do because our schedules are so packed. But then on the days that you're off, you can kind of run around and go do things, but you want to go back home. And then the game's finally over, and you have a 12-hour flight back to LA.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets tough. But we had a couple of years where we did it. I think we did it really well. We got there Thursday, and it was a quick trip, and it was a blast. And those are always the most fun. Being able to go shop if you want, go see the city. Try to stop into a pub if you can find one that's open when the game's over, and then shoot back home.
Yeah. Well, just saying, normally teams get their bye week after playing in London, and we just crossed away from Dublin. There you go. There's your trip sorted. There, you'll definitely find a pub open there if you want.
I might just have to tell them I'm staying next time, and then I'll fly back the week after.
There we go. There, you just got some important business to take care of. That's all.
The points are much better in Dublin as well.
Obviously, yeah, you mentioned there you spent some time with the Rams, and obviously you got to share defensive line with Aaron Donald, and of course one of the best, if not the best, the defensive tackle in league history. And he finally got his ring just a couple of weeks ago in the Super Bowl. And how happy were you to see, especially Aaron, finally get his ring?
I was ecstatic. I kept up with them all year. Those are some of my best friends in the world. I've been friends with them for the last 5 years. Learned a lot from him. Attribute a lot of my success to being around him and learning from him. Like you said, I got to drink from the tap of the best defensive lineman to ever play the game, and so it was awesome to see him win, and especially to see him win in the way he did. Taking over the game in the way he did the last 2 games. I couldn't have been more proud. I was happy for all those guys, for AD, for Bash, for Greg, the whole D-line room. I was with them. I mean, that room didn't change much. So it's happy for all those guys and the guys on offense that I had been around, and the staff. The guys, they had all taken a chance on me and been great to me the 5 years I was there. So I was really happy to watch them go get one.
Morgan, when you were younger, when you were growing up watching the NFL, had you got any guys that you really paid attention to, like kind of idols or someone that you really learned a lot from when you were like younger playing the game?
When I was young, I was a Steelers fan, and I actually played quarterback. So I didn't really have a ton of guys. Like, I had a bunch of guys. I had a Cordell Stewart poster in my room, had a jersey. I kind of grew up watching quarterbacks, but I didn't really watch a ton of football when I was a kid. I just played it and, had fun playing it and was good at it naturally. And kind of like my junior year of high school is when I decided to play defensive end. I'd always kind of been a linebacker and played it. I loved watching Troy Polamalu growing up. That was probably my favorite player. And I always played linebacker as well as quarterback, and then D-line just ended up working out.
What made you make the switch from quarterback to D-line or defense?
We were honestly in a situation where we had an open spot at D-line, and we were coming in. We had a system that wasn't really great for passing quarterbacks. And I wasn't trying to fight for that spot. And they said, hey, we have a D lineman. And I was like, well, I'll go play defense. And it worked out.
You've had the opportunity to work under some legendary defensive coordinators from, Wade Phillips at the Rams, a guy that we've actually had the pleasure of speaking to on the show as well. Really, really knowledgeable and great lad. And obviously currently with Phil Snow. And, how have you felt your game has improved just from being under the tutelage of those two coaches especially?
Oh, it's been awesome. Coach Wade's football royalty. You go back in the game, his dad and him, they're pioneers of the game, they're football royalty. And I love Coach Wade. He was amazing to learn from. So I felt like my game got better, especially because I had to learn a new position. I wasn't just a 5 technique. I wasn't just hitting tight ends and tackles every now and then. Like, I had to learn to play in the trenches. I had to learn to play with the big boys and go get after the ball. So it definitely helped me develop my game into being almost more useful. I learned to play everywhere. I learned to be a 3 technique. I learned to rush from the nose. I learned to play 4. I learned how to play end, and that really helped me a lot. Play for Coach Snow has been a blast. It's fast, it's furious. We're coming with pressure, and you better have enough bodies to block it. Which is awesome. You love playing for an aggressive style defense that's just, see ball, go get the ball. And so I've loved that playing under Coach Snow.
Excuse me. You were talking about college a little back there. I was wondering, how was the draft process for you coming out of a Division II college? Was that stressful for you, or how did you feel about the process in general?
Honestly, it wasn't that stressful. I was under no illusions of what kind of situation I was in. Obviously, I had to talk to a couple teams. The Chargers really liked me. Rams liked me. Saints, Cowboys, a bunch of teams really liked me. In that process, teams like, oh, we'll draft you here. We'll draft you here. You never know until it actually happens, until your name's called on the board. So I had no real illusions about what was going to happen and what I was going to have to do to stay in the league. So when the call kind of came, I just took the first one that came and said, you know what, worst case scenario. I learned from the best D-line in the league at the time, with Robert Quinn, Michael Brockers, Aaron Donald, Will Hayes, Eugene Sims. I mean, the D-line they had was insane. They just had they were just talented, just across the board. And it was an absolute blast. And I was like, you know what, if I get cut, then I learn from the best in the league and I can take it somewhere else. But all I need is my foot in the door. So I was more so planning on getting into camp and making an impression there than worried about the draft.
Yeah. And actually just bouncing off the back of that, because we are just finished the combine, the draft is coming up next month. And obviously there's a lot of draftees, both excited and probably nervous about where they will get drafted or if they will get drafted. And like you mentioned yourself, you actually weren't drafted at the weekend. You were an undrafted free agent signing by the Rams. And, like that was when the draft weekend finished and you weren't drafted, would your agent then start making the calls to teams about you? Or like you were saying, were teams just calling you then straight away as soon as the draft process finished? Or even did you know beforehand that, look, may not get drafted, but when it's finished, we're going to sign you on?
Well, I actually knew before the draft ended. That morning I went to the gym because I knew they're going into round 5, 6, and 7. I knew I probably wasn't getting a phone call at least around 5 or 6. So I went to the gym that morning, and I got a call from the Cowboys, and they were saying, we would love to have you as a free agent when this process is over. But, obviously the draft hadn't finished yet. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then we kept, kind of kept it pushing. And once it was over, I got a couple phone calls here and there. And right away, the Rams were the first ones that called, and we took it.
Excellent. And then looking ahead to the next season, like you're saying, you're back in the gym training. What sort of would you set now any personal goals for yourself heading into the season, or would it just be to sort of try and get the best or as many wins, I should say, possible for the Panthers next year?
Well, the goal always for me is to win. At the end of the day, I came from a college program where we spelled fun, WIN, and we won a lot of football games. So that's a big motivator for me. I just want to win. I've been fortunate enough to be on teams that were very successful, and I just want my teammates and guys around me to experience that. At the end of the day, we all get paid to win. They say we get paid to play, but we get paid to win. And so, number one goal is to win, and the number two goal is to always just improve, on things that I did well last year, things that I didn't do so well, getting a, quarter of a second, half of a second, down on something else, maybe instead of all the hits and pressures and getting to the quarterback, right after he throws or as he's throwing, now make it to where I'm getting there before he throws, and trying to change that, being better in the run game on certain blocks, being a little more aggressive here, maybe less aggressive here, and kind of just, you look at everything.
Morgan, I just have one last question for you then. Do you prefer playing the pass or playing the run?
I think I like them both, and I know that feels like a very safe answer, but I actually, being with the guys that I was with for the last couple of years, we took a pride in, dominating the run, at least up front, with our guys up front, and we always wanted to make it a point to know, like, in the trenches when it's a run game, that's man on man. You're challenging someone to see how tough they really are. So if you can stop the run, you can let the other team know, like, hey, at least right here, you're not tougher than me. And we always took pride in that. So that's kind of something I carried over to the Panthers, is like, hey, this is personal in the run game. Like sometimes I'm more proud to stop the run against a good running team than to, get back there and have a couple good rushes. But, there's something sweet on and getting a sack in front of 75,000 fans, or getting a good pressure or hitting a good rush move on someone, like, oh, that was it. It's like a good shot in basketball. As soon as it leaves your hands, like, oh yeah, that was money.
You said it might have been a bit of an on the fence answer, but I actually think that was probably the best answer I could have got.
Should ask then as well, when it comes to playing on the line, and like you're saying, when you have a move that when a lineman there that you have beat, do you sort of take it as a badge of honor when you see maybe guys double teaming you, or maybe they put a tight end on that side of the tackle to sort of maybe stop your progress a little bit? Then do you start thinking in your head, maybe, all right, I've got this guy worried, so I'm going to just keep pushing on him here?
No, I'm gonna be honest. It's frustrating because then you're getting slid too, and you're like, man, can y'all just leave me alone? Leave me just one-on-one, please. I don't need, you don't need help. Let's handle this one-on-one like men. But it definitely is a badge of honor, all jokes aside. Now I wouldn't say badge of honor, but like, all right, I'm playing well enough that they're sliding to me. They're bringing a tight end in. Maybe if you're on the inside, they're chipping you with a running back. Somehow moving the protection and trying to help. And that there's so many factors that go into that. You might be winning, but you have a guy on the edge like, Burns or Hassan, who is also causing havoc. And then it's like, okay, now they really have to slide over here. And now you're all that attention. Then you got guys like Derek can go win, or Yetur can go win on the backside and go cause havoc. And that's what you want. So as frustrating as it is sometimes to have guys slide to you, when your teammates go eat and clean it up, you're like, you know what, I can live with it as long as we're still out here winning and getting to the quarterback.
Excellent stuff. Morgan, it's been great to speak to you. We really appreciate you taking time out of your off season to talk to us. here. We hope you do get the chance to come over to Ireland. You do have 3 tour guides here ready to go to bring you to all the best spots for the proper pints of Guinness. We won't get you to get the touristy ones because they're just overpriced and taste like crap. We'll get you the proper pints when you get over here.
I love it. I appreciate it. I'm definitely going to take you up on it. So thanks for having me. I had an absolute blast, fellas.
No problem.
Appreciate
at all,
it, Morgan.
No problem at all. And like I said, best of luck with the upcoming season. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to see you guys in the Panthers, maybe in London, next season. In I think the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think that's where they're due to play. So, never got the chance to go to it myself. So, should be good. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But we are going to take a quick break when we come back, and we're just going to have a little bit of a chat about some of the news that's been happening over the last week. And you're welcome back to the Under Center podcast. Before we go, we felt like we had to get Jake's reaction to the blockbuster trade yesterday. Of course, Russell Wilson moving to the Denver Broncos in exchange for a boatload of picks and a few players. Of course, myself and Al had our emergency live podcast yesterday talking about it. It's still not any easier a day later. Jake, I know you had fun on that live show with various comments, but what is your reaction anyway to the news that Russell Wilson is now going to be a Denver Bronco?
I was in pure shock. Obviously I'm not a big Seahawks fan. I'm a Giants man, but pure shock. That's a shit ton of picks that you need to give away to get Russell Wilson. And I mean, the Broncos have some firepower now. They've got a quarterback to get them there. So some decent defensive pieces that does immediately put them in the contender conversation, I think, anyway. But Jesus Christ, 2 first rounds, 2 seconds, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. That's like a shit ton of pieces that you got to give away to get him.
Don't forget Drew Lock.
And Drew Lock. Well,
of
all the pieces that were gone to the Seahawks, that was the one I was least.
Future Drew Lock.
Yeah, you got to run out with that Geno Smith Drew Lock packages. It's going to be a sight for
he was out of contract. We can't even get
Is
him
he?
back.
Oh, okay, so you're going to roll. You're going to roll with Drew Lock and Jacob Eason.
He also was arrested.
Was he?
So I don't know the outcome of that yet.
Well, I assume not well for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Speaking of players that was arrested, what do you think of the rumors going around that they're actually doing their due diligence on Desean Watson? Or do you think that they're going to look maybe at the draft this year? Two players that reports suggested that they liked coming out of combine was Malik Willis and I think it was Sam Howell.
I don't know. I believe the defense attorney or whatever, not the defense attorney, the prosecutor for this has a big announcement for Friday, I believe, regarding Desean Watson. So it is believed to be a big release. So we'll see how that one pans out. I don't know if he's going to play this year again. I reckon the Seahawks roll with what they have in a really weak QB class, roll with Drew Lock, get a high pick for next year, and then hopefully pick a stronger quarterback. With all these picks, you could really fortify like a defense or offensive line. You could kind of go anywhere with picks like that. So I reckon they just roll with the shit and then you have a bad year like I have been having for the past 7, and then you eventually hopefully get to turn it around and might smile again at football for once. Maybe somebody you talk to's quarterback gets traded, and then you feel a little bit happier for yourself. But no,
Possibly.
I am genuinely a little bit devastated for you guys. Like, I know you weren't really Super Bowl contenders, but your franchise quarterback for I don't know how many years he's on that team. It's so sad to see someone like that go and then immediately put you in the shithouse like that.
Yeah, it is tough. There was a point that I was going to make there, and I lost it as you were talking.
It's probably
there.
a lie. I shout on a lot, and then you might forget it.
I know what it is there now. It was about the situation around Pete Carroll and the fact that he's 70 years old and he can't possibly be wanting to actually start a rebuild at his age. So it kind of leaves the door open possibly for another veteran quarterback to come in, maybe a big trade to happen somewhere. I don't know where that's going to happen. I don't know who it could possibly be. The only one that comes to mind is Desean Watson. I'm not a big fan of getting Desean Watson in on the team, but obviously due to the recent legal issues that he's having on, I don't want a player like that anywhere near the team. Otherwise, there's no other veteran quarterback I think that the Seahawks would go after and that you would want them to go after. So then
you're basically just wasting your time. Then you're going to have a stopgap veteran. You may as well just keep Drew Lock as opposed to your Ryan Fitzpatrick's or who has you at that age or whatever. They're not going to get you to the Super Bowl. So why not just roll out with what you have now? See how far you can get. Have a relatively high pick next year with the first round extra that you get from the Broncos, and then go move up if you need to, or fortify a offensive line or something.
Yeah. I wonder what the odds are currently now for the Seahawks at the first overall pick in 2023.
How old is Metcalf actually?
Good odds on that.
Metcalf, I think, is 25, 26, something like that.
I think
we talked about that on the pod as well, saying he is due he wants a renewal. Well, he wanted a renewal this offseason. I think he may change his tune now that Wilson is gone.
I mean,
well, he might go on. Sorry, Al.
If the Seahawks were to offer him like 25-30 million a year, he's not going to say no to that.
Yeah, money's money.
Yeah.
Cash talks, like.
But then you don't want that. I guess you wouldn't want that sort of player then, because he's interested in the cash. He's not interested in.
They're all interested in cash.
Exactly.
No, I know.
You could want to play elsewhere, but if nowhere else offers that money.
Well, it's probably a good time to pay Metcalf because you will have the money because you're no longer paying Russell Wilson, and then you're going to have a rookie quarterback. And what's the best thing you can do with a rookie quarterback? Have a solid offensive line and good receivers. That's probably the best thing you could do for him. You could afford to take the hit on a Metcalf if you're paying a rookie quarterback contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's very tough. It's still hard to process at the moment. I still don't know. It's going to take a good week or so for the dust to settle on this and see what happens. And I think they got lucky, or not lucky, but they planned it out perfectly, the Seahawks, in doing this after the combine, where they don't have to give any interviews until draft week in April. So then I'm sure all the questions will be about that. And also, I've got to call out the Seahawks for that awful tweet that they sent out. It was absolutely terrible. As if you wanted to just turn the knife in my back that little bit more. You go and do a castaway thing where Tom Hanks is shouting, "Where's Wilson? Wilson."
I think the Broncos had one as well where Russell Wilson was wrong on Wilson the ball, wasn't he?
It was just the ball. It was the scene. He was drawing the face on it. Obviously, everyone knows what it was from. But yeah, that tweet was just like, that's not even funny, guys. Come on, it
was funny for literally everybody that's not a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, well, that'd be fine if it was like an LA Rams sort of Twitter account, like the official Twitter account from the Rams or the Cardinals. But no, it comes from the Seahawks official one. Sorry, Al.
Yeah, they had to put out something because I think like legally they can't announce it yet officially.
No.
So they just wanted a post.
I'd rather just stay quiet. I'd rather keep that quiet.
Oh.
Just don't say anything. Like, come on.
Ah,
But anyway, that's I think that's where we'll wrap up this edition of the show, guys. Thanks so much for hopping on. Al, thanks so much for coming on as cover for Fionn. You did a fantastic job as always.
thank you.
We will be back next week where we'll have another guest on the show. We will announce that probably the start of next week. So keep your eyes glued to our social channels at Under Center Podcast on Twitter, and the exact same at Under Center Pod, I should say, on Twitter and Instagram, both the exact same. But until next time, stay